Please settle down as our program is about to begin. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the MAP KPMG Technology Summit 2025. Please rise for the invocation to be followed by the Philippine National Anthem.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فقال ربكم ادعوني أستجب لكم آمين يا رب العالمين الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين اللهم اجمع شامل المسلمين والكريستيان والأمة في مدينة دباو وسلم دائما مجتمعنا هذا بالسلم والأمن والتقدم في بلدنا هذا آمين يا رب العالمين ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب ربنا إنك أنت الوهاب ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وصلى الله على خير خلقه سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين آمين يا رب العالمين.
In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you today to praise and worship you and give you thanks for all the things you continue to provide for ourselves and our families. Father, we humbly ask for forgiveness for all the times we have offended you, when we forget to acknowledge your presence in the image of our brothers and sisters, and for moments we fail to be good stewards of the blessings you have given us. Continue to guide and protect each one of us, Lord, that we may always walk in the lights of your everlasting love and mercy. Grant us, Father, with your comfort in times of distress and with your strength in times of weakness. Bestow upon us your unending grace and healing, that we may in turn become instruments of gentleness and compassion to others. We ask all this in the name of your Son, our Lord Jesus Christ, with the prayer and the intercession of a Blessed Mother. Amen.
Manama, mawantog ka. Warapoko iling koy ko. O Diyos, kahibulungan ka. Busa ikaw lang ang simbahon ko. Busa ikaw lang ang alagaran ko.
Ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
You may all be seated. To formally open our summit, let us all welcome the Chair and CEO of RG Manabat and Company, KPMG in the Philippines, Ms. Sharon G. Dayoan.
Good afternoon, everyone. So happy to see a lot of familiar faces here today. So to the distinguished guests, esteemed speakers, moderators, and panelists, MAP President Al Panlilio, MAP Information and Communications Technology Committee Leadership, Governor in Charge Gil Genio, Co-Chairs Bong Paloma and Teddy Sumulong, and Co-Vice Chairs Donald Lim and Jelaine Manrique, as well as the rest of the MAP Board of Governors, to the co-MAP members in this room, and to the innovators and fellow tech enthusiasts. Welcome to the first ever MAP KPMG Technology Summit. So thank you for taking time to be here today to engage in timely conversations about the evolving landscape of technology and innovation. These topics reflect the real and urgent decisions that leaders face today as they navigate disruption, respond to stakeholder demands, and build organizations that are ready for the future. I would like to sincerely thank the Management Association of the Philippines for making this summit and collaborating with RG Manabat and Company, or KPMG in the Philippines, possible. This partnership reflects our shared commitment to equipping leaders with a deeper understanding of how AI and data analytics can be responsibly adopted to support our country's innovation agenda. At RG Manabat and Company, we are committed to supporting organizations as they adopt technology to drive growth, enhance operations, and deliver meaningful results for their clients and communities. We see innovation as essential to build a stronger, more resilient Philippine economy. So I'd like to share that we started the KPMG Innovation Summit in 2021. This has since provided a platform for examining how emerging technologies can solve today's business challenges and connecting leaders to exchange insights and adopt proven approaches. This year, we are so proud to partner with MIP for the first time to further expand these opportunities for collaboration and learning. So what can you expect today? You can expect a lot. You can expect a lot of action, opportunities to learn, and insights that you can apply as you lead your organizations forward. So first, in a short while, we will dive into 4 insightful sessions covering key areas shaping the digital future. Second, later this afternoon, we will celebrate the finalists and winners of 2 initiatives of this summit, the Academic Innovation Challenge and the KPMG Global Tech Innovator Competition here in the Philippines. Now, the Academic Innovation Challenge is very close to my heart. It invites students to examine how emerging technologies such as generative AI and low-code platforms can actually transform how businesses operate. We designed this program to expose students to the tech industry and encourage them to explore innovative solutions, fostering both curiosity and confidence in applying technology to real-world challenges. We are grateful for Microsoft Philippines for partnering with us for this year's challenge. Their support has helped us provide students with access to their tools and industry expertise, enriching the learning experience. I hope you're as excited as I am in waiting for the winners for the Academic Innovation Challenge. Now, this year for the AIC, we've welcomed 162 students from 27 colleges and universities nationwide. And we are thrilled to recognize these 3 finalists who emerged as the top winners of this challenge later this afternoon. Now, on the second initiative, the KPMG Global Tech Innovator Competition, it is a pitch event for startups and scale-ups. It gives innovative technology companies the chance to present their products and services to a broader market, including potential investors. The competition is held annually in multiple countries, and today we will recognize the winner, who will go on to represent Philippines at the Global Finals in Lisbon, Portugal later this year. And lastly, third, I encourage you to visit the booths just outside this venue where you can engage with us, Microsoft Philippines, and LivePerson. At our booth, you can meet our professionals, explore some of the work we do in the technology space, and learn more about how we can help you in your transformation journey. It's a good opportunity to connect and exchange ideas. Once again, I extend my warmest welcome to each one of you. We hope today's summit helps spark new partnerships, uncover new insights, and encourage each one of us to keep pushing boundaries, all in the service of shaping a smarter and more connected future. So maraming salamat po, and magandang hapon sa inyong lahat.
Thank you, Ms. Dayon. Please give a round of applause for the president of MAP, who is the chair of Maya Bank, Mr. Alfredo Alpanlilio, who will now say a few words.
Thank you. Good afternoon to all, our distinguished speakers and panelists, officers and staff of KPMG RG Manabat and company, fellow MAP members, guests. Again, good afternoon to all of you. on behalf of the Board of Governors and about 1,200 members of the MAP, of Management Association of the Philippines, I would like to welcome all of you to this MAP KPMG Technology Summit. At the outset, I would like to thank KPMG, of course, with Sharon and Noel Bonoan. I don't see Noel. Thank you for co-presenting this summit, very important summit. Technology is very, very close to my heart, based on my background, obviously. Today's sessions will offer valuable insights on several critical topics, including, number one, the impact of leadership, organizational culture, and employment engagement on the success or failure of digital transformation initiatives. I'm a witness to that when we were trying to do that in PLDT a few years back. Number two, the need for strategic and transformational leadership to evolve across the three key phases of digital transformation: initiation, implementation, and institutionalization. Third, how to effectively leverage vast data sets to build models and algorithms with a focus on cultivating a balanced and practical understanding of data analytics and AI in achieving business goals. Fourth, the importance of a robust, proactive approach to cybersecurity and data privacy, especially in the light of increasingly sophisticated cyber threats and the expanding role of AI. And lastly, common reasons why startups fail, what defines success in the context of innovation and entrepreneurship, and what venture funders prioritize alongside what customers truly value. I therefore urge you to listen intently to our speakers and panelists for valuable takeaways on digital transformation, managing data and analytics, cybersecurity, and data privacy and technology innovation. At this point, let me thank our speakers and panelists for sharing their time and expertise with us today. And again, many thanks to KPMG for co-presenting this technology summit. Thank also to our cocktail sponsor, Life Person. Special thanks to the MAP Technology Committee chaired by Bong Paloma and Teddy Sumulong, with Donald Lim and Jalaine Manrique as co-vice chairs, and of course, Gil Henyo as governor in charge for putting this summit together. Thank you and congratulations to you for doing this. A round of applause, please, for KPMG, Life Person, and the MAP Technology Committee. Let me end with a quote from Mr. Eric Pearson of the International Hotel Group. It is no longer the big beating the small, but the fast beating the slow. Thank you for everyone for your presence and wishing all of you a productive summit this afternoon. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Mr. Panlilio. Now, to complete our opening ceremonies, let us call on stage the co-chair of the MAP Technology Committee and the Managing Director and CEO of Land Registration Systems Incorporated, Mr. Eduardo Teddy Sumulong.
Thank you for that warm introduction and a pleasant afternoon to everyone. When the ICT Committee of MAP had a discussion early this year, we wanted to make sure that the topics for this session are very relevant. So early this year, as you know, with Governor Hill's guidance, is we wanted to make sure that, what we realized that there were so many IT issues that have become much more board issues nowadays. And those board issues are cybersecurity, which has been a major issue for a lot of companies, for various reasons. And the more important one, which is the past maybe 24 months, is really AI and how it has really transformed how we do business, and how our employment, or at least the jobs of our people, are either being transformed or being jeopardized. So with that, that became the inspiration of our topics this afternoon, really AI, cybersecurity, and transformation in general, and how it can really make the companies of the future become a game changer. So that is our inspiration. So on behalf of the entire ICT committee, we are very thankful of the members of MAP to be here this afternoon. We hope that we can educate and enlighten you of how this technology can really be a game changer for your respective organizations. No? We want to also thank KPMG for being our partner and our sponsor for this, and all the other sponsors that have helped us for this, to make this session possible. So thank you so much, and look forward to all your participation later this afternoon. We do have very good resource speakers that we will be leveraging this afternoon to make sure that you find a lot of insights and interesting topics that you can bring back to your respective organizations. With that, a pleasant afternoon to one and all, and look forward to talking to you later. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sumulo. To officially kick off our summit, our first session for today is on why digital transformations fail and what lessons can we learn, the good, the bad, and the ugly. To deep dive into this topic, let us all welcome the President and CEO of RCBC, Mr. Eugene Huge Acevedo.
Wow, the lights are very strong. Good to see everyone here. I've been absent for the last, I don't know. I'm an absentee member, but they asked me to, I pay. But when Bong and Hill insisted that I talk about this topic, it didn't take long for me to say yes. But anyway, let me dive straight. It is a privilege to stand before you today to share the results of a journey that began with a question and ended with a revelation. Having served as RCBC CEO and having worked the past 6 years on digitally transforming the organization, we have seen some good fortune. We won the Asia Money Euromoney Award for Best in Digital Banking for the last 5 years consecutively, and fingers crossed, we're hoping to win it for one more year before I finally retire. But in the last 2 years, I've been wondering, was it a case of, as Raymond Lauchenko once sang, just got lucky? If you're in the wrong generation, you probably will not understand me. For example, the pandemic changed consumer behavior so abruptly to force everyone to go digital. But what was in it that we did that made the biggest difference? By the way, when I say the journey, it is not RCBC's journey. It is my personal journey as a doctoral student at AIM. Digital transformation is my dissertation topic. So I've had to go through about 60 articles to produce this, and I'm in the process of doing interviews with various people. So if you want to be part of my dissertation, you can contact me on LinkedIn, where most people usually find me. So I decided to study the topic once and for all, and today I will share with you my findings so far, what I discovered. And even if it's not yet completed, it has been very revealing. Now, in a world where digital transformation is no longer optional but essential, we ask ourselves, what truly drives the success in digital transformation? Is it the technology? No. Is it the strategy? Partially. Is it the budget? Not as well. So even if many of you here are technology guys, just like my neighbor, Al, it's about people. And I, thankfully, am a people person. Let me begin with a simple truth. Digital transformation is the defining disruption and opportunity of our time. But everybody knows that. Across the globe, everybody's racing to digitize operations, reimagine customer experiences, and reinvent business models. But here's the catch. While technology is global, transformation is deeply local. In the Philippines, we face a paradox. We are a nation of digital consumers, you know that, social media savvy, mobile first, globally connected. Yet, when it comes to digital readiness in our organizations, we sadly lag behind our Southeast Asian neighbors. In fact, I conducted a quick survey through LinkedIn. 52% or half the respondents are either still exploring or are in the early stages of their journey. 38% said that they were actively implementing, and only 10%, that includes you all, consider themselves mature. Only 10%. Why? Is it our infrastructure? No. Lack of skills, perhaps? Not really. We have 70 to 80 Philippine science high schools producing really smart people. To be fair, according to studies, 50 to 80% of transformations globally fall short of their objectives. So we're not alone. The reasons given are issues like employee resistance to change, wrong leadership practices, and the absence of support from various levels of the company. Therefore, to be fair, this is a difficult undertaking in the first place. I propose that it is because transformation isn't about technology. You can buy digital tools, but you cannot buy transformation. I know this is not the most appropriate thing to say in an event organized by the Technology Committee, but hear me out. What we found was something far more human. Digital transformation is about organizational change. It's about people. It's about leadership and culture. It is hard. It is as hard as, well, teaching your children to eat vegetables. You can buy the best vegetables, but if you don't create an environment where they feel encouraged and motivated to eat them, you'll struggle. I know, I went through this. Similarly, you can invest in the best or latest technologies, but without fostering a culture that embraces change, your digital transformation efforts will, like what we saw earlier, fall short. Now, over the past year, I explored how Filipino organizations can lead successful digital transformations by embracing our cultural identity, empowering people, and reimagining leadership. Today, I want to share with you the 3 most powerful insights from that research, starting with culture. In the Philippines, that culture is rich, complex, and deeply human. Pakikipagkapwa is at the core. Here, I am borrowing concepts from Psikolohiyang Pilipino or Philippine psychology as espoused by the late Professors Enriquez and Lagmay from UP Diliman Psychology Department. By the way, Ateneo and LaSalle have similar studies, so don't feel bad. We identified 3 uniquely Filipino traits that shape how organizations adapt to change. First, hiya. You might not have been expecting me to be talking this way, but this is reality. Hiya, often translated as shame, is better understood as sense of propriety and dignity. It guides behavior and reinforces accountability. But hiya can stifle innovation if not addressed. Juniors may not propose ideas for fear of embarrassment. People may be afraid to take risks because they will lose face when they fail. Pakikisama or companionship reflects our deep value for harmony and collective action. Pakikisama builds strong teams. as it encourages cross-functional collaboration, but sometimes it can suppress dissent or new ideas. Bahala na, I don't think you were expecting this, often misunderstood as fatalism, especially by the Western authors who slammed it down our throats, is actually a form of courageous risk-taking. Bahala na reflects our willingness to act in uncertainty and adapt on the fly. Remember the last time you said, bahala na? You were not leaving it to chance. You still wanted to take the risk because you knew that you could handle it. When these three traits are acknowledged and integrated into organizational culture, they become weapons, assets, rather than obstacles. For example, we found in our research that when leaders create psychological safety, they reduce the negative effects of hiya. When leaders actively listen, ask subordinates for their opinion, have a constructive view of failure, employees feel more comfortable sharing ideas, challenging norms, and taking creative risks. You know what else I found out? This is a huge problem among fintech startups. When pakikisama is channeled into structured collaboration, it fosters trust, loyalty, and team cohesion. Critical ingredients for agile transformation. Teams do not wait for leaders to give orders. Decision-making is decentralized. And when supported by clear goals and feedback loops, bahala na becomes a driver of experimentation and innovation. In short, Filipino culture, when understood and harnessed, becomes a powerful weapon for digital readiness. The second part is about leadership, but not just any leadership, it's a strategic type of leadership. Allow me to introduce two concepts: transformational leadership and dynamic capabilities. Transformational leadership inspires and motivates followers by creating a compelling vision and fostering a sense of purpose. It emphasizes personal growth, innovation, and change through strong relationships and emotional engagement. Leaders act as role models, encouraging others to outperform. Dynamic capabilities theory is defined as the firm's ability to integrate, build, and reconfigure internal and external competencies to address rapidly changing environments. This is my favorite strategy theory, no longer Porter. These environmental changes include disruptions in customer behavior, such as what happened during the pandemic, and new technological opportunities like AI. In our interviews, we found that digital transformational leadership is not static. It evolves across the three phases of digital transformation. Three phases: the initiation, implementation, and institutionalization or sustaining stages. The leaders modify their leadership styles across the phases. You cannot just be a one-style leader, you have to be a different style of leader at those three phases. In the initiation phase, you need to be a visionary. You scan the environment, you identify opportunities, you articulate a compelling vision, a digital roadmap. Your ability to inspire and align stakeholders is critical. You go around meeting employees on town halls to sell the vision and listen to their concerns, listen to their fears. In the implementation phase, leaders become architects. They break down silos, they mobilize cross-functional teams, and they encourage intellectual stimulation. They challenge their people to think differently and solve problems creatively. During this stage, pakikisama becomes crucial as employees from different groups start working together on customer solutions. And in the final stage, the institutionalization stage, leaders become mentors. They embed innovation into the culture, provide individualized support, mentoring, and they model adaptability. They create an environment where experimentation is safe and that learning is continuous. Remember, psychological safety and the need to reduce hiya. This is where it continues to become important. Leaders who combine the best of transformational leadership, which is inspiration, stimulation, and consideration, and the agility of dynamic capabilities, sensing the environment, seizing to implement and transforming the organization, result to a transformation of the organization's DNA. Now, the third insight has to do with employee engagement as engine of transformation. We found out that when leaders and cultures fulfill the employee psychological needs of autonomy, competence, and relatedness, engagement soars. And with it, so does transformation success. The key theory here is, sorry to be introducing another theory, maybe not so sorry, is self-determination theory. I've become a disciple of this. The self-determination theory is a psychological framework that simply says that internal motivation is more important, and the conditions that foster or hinders people's ability to thrive is important because the SDT emphasizes the importance of internal motivation and the conditions that foster people's ability to thrive and perform effectively. Just think about it. Autonomy, competence, relatedness, common sense, right? Common sense. But research, I think there's about at least 100 research materials that support this. They've tested this, and it's perfect for the digital transformation exercise. When employees are given the freedom to make decisions and contribute ideas, they take ownership of the transformation process. They become innovators, not just implementers. In terms of competence, when organizations invest in learning and development, employees feel that they're in control of the environment. They feel capable and confident. Hence, they embrace new tools and processes with enthusiasm, AI included. Finally, on relatedness, when leaders show genuine care and when teams collaborate effectively, employees feel connected. They support each other, share knowledge, and stay committed. In fact, we found out that engagement mediates the relationship between leadership and culture on one side and digital transformation success on the other. In other words, even the best strategy will fail if employees are not engaged. But when they are, transformation becomes not just possible, but inevitable. The good news is this: a digital-ready culture based on Filipino cultural traits, transformational leadership, and dynamic capabilities all contrive to bring about employee engagement. Now, just to repeat, as I find this part exciting, our cultural traits, when understood and leveraged, do not hinder transformation. they accelerate it. We don't need to import Western models wholesale. You might have been reading Dual Transformation. I also did. It's based on consultants' experience, not on research. But I think they probably have a bit. I'm still a big fan of Dual Transformation, but it has to be localized. By integrating Psikolohiyang Pilipino with global leadership and organizational theories, we can create a new model for transformation, one that is culturally grounded, people-centered, and strategically agile. The local model, which, for lack of a better name, we call the Leadership Culture and Engagement Model, offers a roadmap for Filipino organizations to lead transformation on their own terms. It is a model that says we don't have to choose between tradition and innovation. We can honor both. So what does this mean for you as leaders, managers, and change agents? It means that your role is not just to implement technology. Your role is to shape culture, inspire people, and build engagement. Here are 3 practical takeaways. 1, start with culture. Before you roll out a new system or platform, ask, is our culture ready? Are we encouraging innovation? Are we creating space for collaboration? Are we reducing fear and building trust? Is there psychological safety? Or is there so much hiya? Or are we just satisfied with buying technology? Number 2, lead through the phases. Don't assume that what worked in the beginning will work in the end. Many digital transformations worked at the beginning, everybody got excited, and then the lead left because the company had a different culture. I've heard that many times before. Your leadership must evolve. Be a visionary at the start, a collaborator in the middle, and a mentor at the end. If you cannot do all those 3, find somebody else who'll do it. 3, engage your people. Transformation is not something you do to people. It's something that you do with them. Listen to their needs. Invest in their growth. Celebrate their contributions. Because in the end, transformation is not about technology, it's about people. In other words, you will need to drink a lot of coffee. Because it is in the kapihans, Al, you know this, I've drunk a lot of coffee. It is in the kapihans that stories are shared. And trust is formed between leaders and employees. Your heart will beat faster from the caffeine and excitement. Solution, decaf. I've been drinking a lot of decaf. I'm sure that you have heard about the people angle a number of times in different articles that you've read on digital transformation. But I hope that this time I'm able to put more meat and more granularity and doability in that concept. Let me close with this. The Philippines is at the crossroads. We have the talent. We have graduates from more than 70 science high schools. That's one of my favorite facts. We have creativity. We sing, at least. We have the heart. We have puso. What we need now is the courage to lead differently. To lead with empathy, to lead with authenticity, to lead with a deep understanding of who we are and what we can become. Let us not be afraid to lead in our own way. Let us build organizations that are not only digital ready, but also culturally rooted, human-centered, and future-focused. Because the future of digital transformation in the Philippines is not just digital. It is deeply, beautifully, and powerfully Filipino. Kaya natin to. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you for that insightful presentation, Mr. Acevedo. And now, we will have our Q&A for this session. Joining Mr. Eugene Acevedo is the Co-Vice Chair of the MAP Technology Committee and Head of Technology Consulting of RG Manabat and Company, KPMG in the Philippines, Mr. Jalaine Manrique. We encourage everyone to participate in the Q&A for this session. You can submit your questions through Slido by scanning the QR code on the screen or going to slido.com and key in the session code MAP-KPMG Summit 1.
All right, Sir Huge, thank you for that wonderful talk.
Thank you.
Actually, you're not just the CEO of RCBC, you're an inspiration to a lot of people. You're a public figure. I'm one of your huge fan, actually.
Thank you, thank you.
So-
I need more followers on LinkedIn, though.
Yes, I know, and a multi-awarded, public figure for that. So I like that you touched on the human element on the digital transformation, and I completely agree about what you pointed out on HIA, pakikisama, and bahala na, right? So which we really encounter, whenever we even help our clients on digital transformation. But one aspect that we're curious about is also in the aspect of takot, which is fear, right? That digital transformation will actually, be a threat, for people, especially on job
Yeah.
displacement.
Yeah.
So I'd like to start the conversation again, building on the human element of
Okay.
transformation as the ugly or the other side of, the impact of transformation.
Yeah, it's when we did our interviews and focus group discussions, what we found out is in the earlier stages of digital transformation, there obviously is fear. In 1987, when Hill and I were working together in Citibank, and we started computerization, that was when it was called, fear was there. Fear has always been there. So the solution is always a vision from the leader that explains what's going to be happening moving forward. So the more information that you provide, the less uncertain the situation becomes. You have to do this together with significant amounts of learning and training. I remember we were teaching people how to do Excel and a few other things. Now, because of Erica, we're teaching many of our officers to do AI. They're even coding just to understand AI even better. So the more you teach, the more people feel that they have competence. See, it goes back to the psychological need for competence. Now, in terms of fear, I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of fear in the Philippines. Philippines is what psychologists would call a high power distance country. Mabait is celebrated. I wasn't mabait when I was a kid, so my conduct was like B, not an A. So we're all mabait. When you're quiet, you're given a premium, which is wrong, right? We should encourage people to start talking, and sometimes the way to do it is to ask them for their opinion. Go around having coffee and ask them for their opinion, because if you never ask them for their opinion, they will be afraid to say what it is that they want to say. And then when that happens, they will feel a stronger sense of autonomy, that they know that they can do things their way, provided that they follow your vision. So this really requires a significant amount of leadership change. If your company has problems executing the digital transformation, the problem might be the man in the mirror. You might be the problem. If you cannot change, if you cannot create psychological safety, you have to pass on the job to somebody else who can do it. No, it's really that. It's really that. Whenever I have a group head who does not have the ability to create psychological safety, I find somebody else who's going to do the role. Because the company is more important than the leader.
So,
Sorry to be blunt.
yeah, just a follow-up question on that, Sir Huge. A lot of the executives, especially CEOs, would want to venture into transformation to actually contribute to the bottom line. And a lot of these initiative is really more for operational efficiency, cutting on costs. Like in your experience, have you actually had to, reduce your, the headcount just to be able to achieve the value or benefit out of transformation? And how did you manage that?
Now, the context is wrong. Now, if your context is cost cutting, if your context is efficiency, then it's the wrong context. The context has to be strategic. It has to be the business model will change moving forward. I think I'm walking into a trap. He knows I'm going to say that, right? He's my friend. So it has to be a business model change that is prompted by what is changing in the environment in terms of customer needs evolution, in terms of new technology, in terms of what competition is doing. This is nothing new. This is what the scientists have been saying for hundreds of years. It's evolution. If species change, companies also need to change. And the DNA equivalent in an organism, the DNA in an organism, the equivalent in a company is the company's culture. No, it has to change. The culture, many of us are maybe proud that our culture has been strong, it's been there for a long time. If your culture hasn't changed, I'd be worried for you. No, because there's just so much disruption going on. I mean, even in AI alone, that will force us to create new business models. No? We have to think more along the lines of business models or new revenue streams. It's nice to think about transformation in terms of cutting costs because then it silences people right away. No? I also use that line to be very frank, because there are stakeholders who ask for immediate benefit. If you're changing your business model, it will take a long time. That's probably your point. No? But the nice thing is, while you're changing your business model, you can also reduce your OPEX. But the OPEX reduction is just a nice side benefit to the exercise.
All right, I was about to ask in terms of the other side of the fear, more of for executives venturing, into a new business model, right? Because that's also a challenge, the uncertainty that it creates, that withholds executives to actually look at that side of the story rather than operational efficiency. But you did answer that point.
Yeah.
Now, in changing business model, you also need capability, and you're one of those few leaders. And when I heard about it, I was so amazed that you have required your direct reports even to learn Python. And I suppose thanks to Dr. Erica for that.
You blame Erica Lagara for
Is that going to be a requirement when you have to apply for RCBC?
Anybody who works for me should know how to code in Python.
Good. So, relative to that, right? So what do you foresee in terms of the skills required, right, for the futures to enable a lot of these transformation?
The thing though, Jelaine, is coding is just one. Leadership is more important. The leader who I never view RCBC as being led by me. I view RCBC as being led by 25 senior officers. And that leadership team has similar characteristics. They practice psychological safety. They practice They turn their organizations to learning organizations. They try to code in Python when Erica shows up. They try to learn about digital tools as much as possible. But more importantly, they go through the type of leaderships required through the digital transformation phases.
Good. Now, I'd like to also entertain some questions from the audience. So, maybe the first one, right? What do you see as the biggest roadblock to accelerating digital transformation in the Philippines, particularly in traditional sectors like banking and even government?
It's leadership. Leadership is the biggest stumbling block. It's not technology, because you can just call Al. It's really leadership that is problematic. It's not just in the Philippines, it's also globally. I've read studies about when it failed. Like, for example, BlackBerry, my favorite. I've had 9 BlackBerries until I finally got an iPhone, because I was the only person in Union Bank who still had a BlackBerry. Oh, there were 2 of us. The other one became the president of Union Digital. So we were the last ones. It's really about people. No, it's really about people. And if there's anybody from HR here, that is how HR comes into the picture. No? I remember in my previous job and my current job, HR was very active in making sure that the leaders transform. So with the middle managers. The middle managers are extra important, because if you don't have them, you don't have anything.
All right. And since you were pointing out about leadership, this might be a bit of a controversial question, right? And whenever also I teach transformation, there are some articles that suggest that the one who should be driving transformation should not be the technical or technology leaders, but more on the business leaders who should really be driving digital transformation.
If the technology guy is the one leading your digital transformation, I'll start a betting pool on how much longer you will have before you fail. Because you will fail. But having said that, I have met many technology individuals who actually studied organizational development. Maybe one of the best things you can do is turn your tech guy into a people manager. I mean, one of my professors in organizational development in AIM, believe it or not, is a tech guy, a former tech guy, head of ICT. If he's done it, anybody can do it.
Certainly. Now, let me just go to another question here. How do you recognize, since we're concentrated on the human element, how do you recognize or reward digital behavior, especially on collaboration, experimentation, pilots, and all in your organization?
One way to do it is team awards. Team awards encourage collaboration, but really, it's intrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation does not need rewards. So if you properly do your transformation, you will have people who are very happy to show up at work and do their thing anyway. So the work itself is its own reward. But, still celebrate it anyway. Celebrate collaboration through deal awards or team awards. I've noticed in the bank that in the past we would have out of 20 awards, we would have 10 individual awards and 10 team awards. Now, there's less and less individual awards, and there are more and more team awards.
Now, speaking of rewards, Sir Yuj, right? So, some business leaders would say, we'll be able to do recognition or give awards if we're able to achieve the business outcome that we're expecting out of the transformation. But you also said earlier it takes time, especially if you're trying to explore new business models. So my question is, how long do you think before, a positive or tangible outcome can be derived out of transformation, and does business leaders have to wait for those positive outcomes before recognizing, people?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think the fastest I saw was about 3 years. Because culture change takes time. Culture change takes time. Now, I had dinner with one of my mentees. I have about 40 mentees now. I met them on LinkedIn rather. And this lady works for a big bank known for, not in the Philippines, known for being one of the most digital in the world. So I asked her about her problems. And it went back to, there's lack of collaboration in my company, et cetera, et cetera. So I said, I thought you guys were like super, uber, trooper digital. See, the thing is, even in my bank, even if we've been winning awards, the fact remains that there are groups that move ahead of everybody else. It's typically a two-speed transformation. So certain groups go ahead, they develop the products, and they establish the reputation. But we need to make sure that the rest of the organization will follow. Now, it's transformation, unfortunately, is the ones I've seen, is usually two-speed. No? Just because somebody's digital doesn't mean that everybody in the organization is. But we have to make significant effort. Now, the other thing is collaboration and all these things can actually be measured. HR can measure all these attributes. So what HR can do to check whether there's been progress is do exactly that kind of survey. Gallup would be one, as an example. In fact, I have my own rudimentary survey related to these things, because I've been using it to track cultural evolution in my organization.
All right, thanks, Sir Yushno. So I'm just going to tweak one question from the audience, right? Now, some would say, well, you're able to do that because you're RCBC. You're a large enterprise, right? But how about the MSMEs, right? The micro, small, medium-sized enterprise, who would like also to get the benefit and value out of transformation, but would have limited resources and wouldn't have 3 years, right, to be able to do that?
One of my favorite stories of MSME transformation is Yasua in Cagayan de Oro. It's not a big organization, it's a small organization. They started with limited means, but the leader knew what to do. The leader, he's a pastor, Pastor Byron, has been doing the right things. So it's, do you have to pay for transformational leadership? No. Do you have to pay for culture? No. You pay for technology, but the most important things are actually freely available if you have the right people. So I have many examples of MSMEs who are doing a fantastic job. I have one in Baguio as well. So, in fact, I've realized that the mid-sized companies have a much better chance at succeeding in transformation.
All right, thank you so much, Sir Huge, for those wonderful insights. This is one of those events whenever we talk about digital transformation, it's always concentrated about tech, and it's so refreshing to talk about the human element of it, and also the ugly side of the human element. So thank you so much for those insights. On behalf of MAP Technology Committee and also KPMG, thank you for gracing us. And
thank you, Jelaine. Thank you all.
Let's give another round of applause to Mr. Huge Acevedo and Mr. Jelaine Manrique. Our next session is all about data and analytics, state of play, the hype and reality of AI. And to give us more details on data and analytics, state of play, the hype and reality of AI, let us all give a round of applause for the partner for data and analytics from KPMG in Singapore, Mr. Paul Kent.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, all. My name's Paul. It's my great pleasure to have the opportunity to meet with you all here today. I think as the speaker said before, the lights are very bright through my glasses. Okay, I've got 20 minutes. I'll go through pretty quick. There's a lot of content. We can have some discussions afterwards as well as part of the panel. One of the things I always like to start to share is that at KPMG we run a global CEO survey. We've been running it for about the last 10 years, and it gives a nice feel for what our businesses and the leadership of businesses are anticipating. This is the most recent one, was done in 2024. It's quite interesting. So at the time it was done, the vast majority, 3/4 of CEOs felt that the business outlook, the economic outlook was quite positive. It's funny how that's changed a little bit in the recent months, and it'll be interesting to see what happens after that. But if you look at the top, which is where I'm really going to focus on, is that the key areas of supply chain disruption and how to deal with that is one of their key priorities. Their top growth strategies is around digitalisation and connectivity, employee value proposition, and AI, artificial intelligence, very much aligned to what we've just heard from the previous speaker. Again on the top, at the top right-hand side, 2/3 of leaders would invest in technology regardless of economic conditions. And everything we see with the clients that we work with, and in our experience, this holds true. In terms of implementing AI, the top 3 areas that comes up through the survey is ethical considerations, ethical challenges, and it all comes back to data and what the models themselves are doing. A very, very deep topic just in its own space. The lack of regulation, and in another way, where regulation might be moving, and what does that mean for businesses? Because as you implement systems and you use the results of those, what does that mean as regulatory conditions change? And then finally, technical capacity and skills, the people. If I was to look again a little bit more, and we start on the right-hand side, the vast majority of CEOs agree that there's benefits of AI to their business and it outweighs the risks. Everything we do, we would see that that also holds true. People are doing it and businesses are doing it to retain competitive advantage. AI has changed tremendously. So when I was younger, I've had my whole career in analytics. Analytics was about traditional AI ML models, taking pieces of data, forecasting what we think is going to happen, making predictions, prescriptive type analytics. But that's changed these days, and now with generative AI, it's really moving at breakneck speeds, and what's achieved in the last 2 years is incredible. 60% of CEOs said they're encouraging employees to use Gen AI, again, coming back to the people. And lastly, around the time savings that it would generate. A lot of the people that we work with don't see AI as a way to replace people. It's to augment what people do and how to make things more efficient and better. The opportunities, if we look at what we see, is around 3 key areas. Productivity, the ability to do things smarter and faster. I can give a lot of examples of this, and I have a very small case study to demonstrate it. But we can take what would take someone days or weeks, 6 weeks, we can do that now within less than a minute. And when you show it to people using Gen AI, it is absolutely incredible. I have a small demo later to show that. Growth, so how you can expand. There's 2 sides to this. One is the cost side, what happens internally to an organisation as a result of being more productive and more efficient. But there's also the external facing. What does AI do in the market? How does your brand change? How can you engage with customers better? How can you move better in the market? That's the external facing side of AI, which is very important. And I think this is where the real benefits of AI's use lies. And innovation, disrupting the way things are being done. If we don't innovate and we don't change, you will be left behind by those that are doing it. It's happening everywhere, and we're seeing a lot of companies moving very, very quickly to try to embrace, innovate, disrupt, change. 4 key things to consider to help prepare for AI. And again, you'll probably see a lot of this resonates very closely to what the gentleman before was just saying. Value. How do we define value? How do we articulate value so that what we do drives value? How do we identify value? People. How do we make sure we've got the right skills? How do we empower people to work better? How do we drive that change within an organization? Trust. How do you make sure that everything you're doing with AI is trusted? For most people, AI is a black box. You don't really know what's going on behind the background. How do you make sure that what's happening is correct? And then, of course, data. You can't do any of this stuff without data behind it. You can do small things with small amounts of data, but ultimately it's about how do you bring together bigger, larger chunks of data and do really cool stuff where you link it and you start looking within it using AI. So, if I was to focus on the first of the pillars, which is around value, AI is around delivering value. And how do you do that? There's a process to this. And one of the things I would always say with AI is not a tech discussion. AI is a business discussion. If you go and generate an AI solution through a technology lens, it will fail. It will always fail. The most successful ways that AI works is working as a business problem. AI never even comes into the discussion initially. It's about what is the business trying to achieve. And the business is across multiple functions: operations, finance, HR, legal. What are we trying to do as a business, and how can we do things better to reach those goals? Then the AI discussion comes into that part of the picture. So looking about where the value really lies, and what are those areas that you want to deep dive into is all part of the process. And again, this topic in itself, you could talk about for quite a long time. Focus on the benefits that you're going to generate. So again, when you go through the process, the business case becomes very, very important. When you're talking to the board about an initiative that you want to undertake, being able to articulate that is critical. And so building that business case is a key part of that. Embedding AI capabilities, governance structures, this comes back to trust, the data side that I was mentioning before. Making the choices. So AI has a lot of different options these days. Everyone's heard of DeepSeek, ChatGPT, Gemini. You can build it, you can take bespoke, use open source AI, you can buy it. Which is the right decision to make? And each of these also has cost implications because the models themselves consume while they're doing their work. What's the right approach for us? Architect to scale. So this one is when you're working, a lot of companies are doing this, particularly in Singapore. You'll see them doing something here in finance. You'll see them doing something else, perhaps in legal. At the end of it, they're taking small chunks of data and they're putting it together. But the real power is when you start to link it together. And then you're looking across multiple sets of data, which you've also worked to make sure it's trusted, to deliver those insights which become powerful. You can't generate those insights just with single sources of information alone. If you also start pulling external data sources together, again, making sure that it's trusted, then the sort of possibilities and the insights really start to compound. And that's what the really mature companies are doing. This one is very aligned to what the gentleman before was just saying. You need to build a culture to uplift human potential. There's 2 things to this. The first is that the teams you use to build AI is critical, and they must have very strong connections with the business. You can't just have a tech team running alone. It will be suboptimal. At the same time, if you just have business people without the right technology people to generate it and drive it, it also will be suboptimal. You need to align the 2 together. And as I said, it's always a business-led discussion. And then if you look down the bottom, when the screen comes back on, it's around education and awareness and really driving that change within the people that are working on this. There are a number of personas. These are generalizations, but they hold true. You have those that are uninterested in AI. We hear about it all the time, doesn't really do anything. You have the uneducated, not really sure about it. A lot of people are like that, not a bad thing, but how do you increase the awareness for them? Those that are fearful, so this is going to disrupt us, it's going to break our jobs. I sit on information and I don't want to share that information with others. The realist, so those are quite few that probably understand through all the talk what is actually real. You hear so many things about AI. AI can solve this, can do that, but what's real? And then the AI overzealous, they're the people who say that AI can do everything. But you need to bring all of these people along on the journey, and that cultural change in the organisation is a key part of that. This in itself is a topic alone as well. AI governance is, again, a very critical part. So what happens is that you bring your data together, and the data sits in a place that you design in an environment. And the models, the AI models, look through that data. Traditional AI models will do the same thing, but Gen AI definitely does it as well. How do you ensure that that data is correct? How do you ensure that there's not personal identifiable information? That if someone was to search, what is the salary of the CEO, that they can't find it? Or they're asking for some regulatory implication which is confidential. These are the things that you need to make sure through your governance framework about how your data is being stored and it's being accessed as well. You also need principles about how to use the AI. For example, in organisations it's very common that everybody can use AI. But how do you know that if the AI is being used as outside and you're using publicly accessible information, it is correct? You don't. And hence you need a governance framework to make sure that is right, because the models are only as good as the data that it sits on. And if that's incorrect, you'll get errors, you'll get incorrect information, and so on. And it goes on and on. If you work in products and you're generating marketing material, how do you understand that the data that's being used to generate the marketing material is not confidential and violates IP? This is all part of governance. A couple of other things which is good to touch on is training, making sure that your people are coming together correctly and using it properly. You need to bring your organisation along. The governance framework will help with that. And then finally, as you're maintaining and it's evolving, models are changing, new ways of doing things. The models are changing literally about on a month-to-month basis. You saw DeepSeek just come out very recently doing things that others have been trying to do for a few years. It's changing exponentially. How do you make sure that we've got the right fit-for-purpose solution in our organisation? Talking about data, it's a subject very close to my heart. I would say that most organisations are weaker on this particular area. It links to data governance, but it also links to the way access to data and use of data. But again, if we were to talk about it at a sort of high level and a quick level, data acquisition. So these days, you no longer get data through the traditional sources. If you have digital banking, you're collecting information on customers. If you've got loyalty programs, you're collecting information on customers. You need to bring all of that in with your other ways that you have and put that together. But an acquisition strategy is very key, coming back to the value that you want to drive. Where is it that we want to focus to meet the business problem? It comes back to a business-led discussion. The foundations of the data, so where you're going to store it. These days with Gen AI, it's unstructured data. So a lot of organisations face the challenge that their data is not digitalised. You've got PDFs, you've got paper copies, and so on. So having the right sort of data structure, the right places to store the data, the digital content which is relevant for the business problem, which you prioritise, is also a very key part. And then finally, data governance. I would say that 90% of organisations have poor data governance. Maybe it's a little harsh, maybe around 80%, but very few have got it correct. It might exist in pockets, but data governance is the rules of how things should be done. How do you make sure that your data is up to date? You spend so much money to invest in a place to store your information. You store it. How do you make sure that over time that data is correct, that the models are accessing? As you bring in new reports, who's responsible for that, the accuracy? These parts are very critical. And again, data governance is a topic in itself as well. I have a very small case study I wanted to show. I hope the video works, so I had to put it in a separate file because it's quite big. But it's very simple, and it just shows the art of the possible. The question that we have, so we do a lot of work. We're an audit company, so our auditors do a tremendous amount of work with financial people, generating financial statements at the end of the year. And KPMG and the clients we work with spend a lot of time to do that. So there's ways that you can do that quicker. So the question was about the financial reporting. The way it happens, I'm not an auditor, so my terminology might be slightly off, but information is extracted from a source system. Usually it's like an SAP type system. It's then put together, it's manipulated manually by the auditors to build trial balances and so on. After that, they use that information to then take that and generate a financial statement. This financial statement process takes months to do, and there's lots of, if there's holding companies, there will be 100 holding companies under the parent company. So there's a way that we can do that more quickly, and that's how it came about. Again, it was a business-led discussion. It's not a technology-led discussion. So in this particular example, this is only one company of which in this particular organisation there's hundreds. But to do just one takes an auditor 20 hours to bring this information across and start the transformations, which they're done manually in Excel. We've built a Gen AI solution which is very, very simple. And when we run it, we can build a financial statement literally within about less than a minute. It needs a little bit more training and so on, but it is 90% accurate just through that first go. So things around disclosures and so on is where it starts to get a little bit more complex. Because of the confidentiality, I can't show you the Gen AI solution live, but I can show you a video of it. But when we showcase that, it's really incredible to what the auditors think can be done, and the client's team as well were also quite amazed. This is what it looks like. So it's all the elements I mentioned before. You have a data system underneath. It's pulling in this case, it's pulling in from SAP. SAP has API connectors, connects straight in. You can bring the data in. We build that into Microsoft Fabric as a data layer. We can pull from across other systems as well, Oracle systems, not just from SAP. It sits in a layer, and in that layer we have a couple of different elements. We have the responsible AI, so how do we make sure that's trusted? We have the generation. So the way we do it is agentic AI. Agentic AI is a series of AI solutions that go off and do what you would normally do manually. So one part of it will go off, collect information about certain numbers. Another part will go off and look at another set of numbers. Another part will be overseeing the AI agents themselves. And then finally, we've got the security. Security is, again, critical. So your governance framework will also look at this, but you're plugging into things, you have information, you have sensitive information. I'm sure some of my colleagues will probably talk about that a bit later, but the cybersecurity is very important as well. And then at the end of it, we have the models themselves. We've built the models to be interchangeable. So in a few years' time, or in 6 months' time, they want to switch the model, we can switch it. Just plug in a new one, take the old one out. And we've built it as an interface into Word. The reason we did that is because that's what the company we're working with are used to working. They work in Word. So it's literally an add-in box that pulls in off the side of Word, and they can type in there to generate their content. Okay, I'll see if this will work. If I could ask your help. Is it? It's okay to go? Okay, it's a bit hard to see, I think, but essentially what's happening is this is on Word. You can go inside, you can pull out the document you want to generate, you can ask the year, it's now going into the source file, it's generating the content, And this is generated in under a minute. And this is what it's produced. It's produced the balance sheet, which before was taking quite a long time to do that. There are a series of other things in here that it can do. It can translate into other languages. So this particular one can translate into Chinese in real time, but it could be Filipino as well. It's just, again, the agentic AI that's doing it. And then there's a series of questions that can be asked. For example, why is it that our numbers are different this year compared to last year? And it will retrieve that information and it will show it across on the side. So here's the chat function on the right-hand side. It's asking, there's a pre-prompt, what's the difference? And in real time, it will generate why there's differences in the balance sheet compared to the year before. And it'll come up with all of the information that the auditors can use and also that the CFO, the finance group, can use as well. I'm out of time. It's just to give you a flavour. It's a very small thing that we've done. If I could just go back to the last slide, please. That's really it for me. I want to say thank you very much for your time. I hope that wasn't too fast. There's a lot of stuff in there. You could talk for a day on all of these things, but hopefully it just gives you a flavour of the art of the possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Paul Kent. To provide additional insights on data analytics, our next speaker is the Managing Director and Chief AI and Data Officer of Center of AI Research, CAIR of DepEd. Let us all welcome Dr. Erica Fia T. Legara.
Wow, so bright. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Hello. So I'm the Erica that Eugene talked about earlier that asked all of them, the senior management, to start coding in Python. But I'm not a very scary professor anyway. So I want to start with a reality check about AI in business today. Now, we're all here, you're all here, I'd like to believe, because you're all smart leaders who have been watching the AI space, probably also making investments, and maybe wondering why your results don't always match the headlines that are presented to you in conferences such as this. So today, I want to give you the real score on what's happening with AI initiatives, and more importantly, what you can do about it. This will just be for 10 minutes because Teddy said that he wanted the Q&A. All right, let's look at these numbers. AI investment intentions have skyrocketed. Paul has more updated numbers, thanks for that. From 76% in 2017 to 99% in 2021, and 2021 is pre-ChatGPT. Remember, but already 99%. These numbers actually resonate with me because it was in 2017 when I came back home from a 6-year stint in Singapore to design and launch the very first data science graduate program in the country. So that 76% at that time we thought was a very, very strong signal of the pivot of businesses towards data science and artificial intelligence. And that was actually correct. And it's not just the expectations, it's also the money, right? So you can see it here, that generative AI funding surged 2,100%, right, since 2019. So that's 21x. That is a lot of increase. And corporate AI adoption doubled, right, from 20% in 2020 to 55% in 2024. These are very serious commitments. And yes, there are success stories as well. Like Microsoft's study shows a $3.50 return for every dollar invested in AI. So the expectations, the investments, the successes, they're all incredible. But you might be asking yourselves, why aren't we seeing the same? Right? Are you asking the same? Yeah. So, because here's what they don't normally talk about in conferences such as this, focus on artificial intelligence. While 99% are indeed investing in AI, and that 92% of these organizations interviewed have increased their levels of investments, less than 1/4 of executives can actually confidently say that they are truly data-driven. So don't fret if you feel like your investments are going nowhere. And if we're gonna look at failure rates, the numbers are much more staggering, right? Up to 80% of AI projects fail. That's almost double the failure rate of corporate IT projects from a decade ago. So 15 million to 20 million, 35 billion projects, all good on paper as concept notes, but they never truly delivered value. The reasons, of course, vary. Look at the first one, 20 million for AI solution for resource management. Sure, they were able to build a successful ML system. This is in the Philippines, by the way. But they were not able to roll it out. The reason? There's no buy-in. Senior management didn't see it as a need. The second one, scoring system for risk management. Again, successful AI model, but they were not able to roll it out. Because why? It was isolated. They couldn't even link it to their existing systems, which are all legacy systems. And finally, image recognition for asset tracking. Now this one is huge, 35 million. Again, successful AI project when you look at the metric of building AI models, but still they were not able to deploy it because they did not consider scaling the system, which would cost tens of millions of pesos more for the cloud compute, etc., etc. Now, from my experience working with these organizations across industries, now these are not my projects, by the way. These were just shared with me from friends in the industry. The barriers are actually very predictable. And some of them, if not all of them, may actually resonate with you. So, of course, the first one is that although companies have heard AI so many times, steady, di ba? We were talking about this 2017 pa. I remember. Still, the understanding of linking, bridging, no, the business needs with tech, there's still a huge gap there. And typically, some companies underestimate the resource requirements. I'll try to elaborate more on that in a bit. And of course, this was mentioned by Paul earlier, that the data is siloed, incomplete, or just poor quality. And finally, I said this again, pilots, they tend to remain pilots. They don't scale. And some companies simply don't have the right talent to begin with. But here's what we learned from Eugene today. Now, look at them. They are not really AI problems. What did Eugene say? They are culture problems. They are people problems. But here in this talk, I call them strategy problems. Because for me, strategy covers everything. From people to trust, the one that Paul highlighted earlier, to value, it's also right there, no? Value and impact, all the way to technology. Because it's right, the two gentlemen said, AI success is not hinged on technology first. Technology is important, but what's critical is that you have a clear data and AI strategy that connects people, data, technology with the business objectives. Now, unfortunately, I hope none of you, most organizations skip this foundation. It's MBA 101, no? And jump straight to the shiny, sexy tools that are AI technology. So in the next 5 minutes, I'll share some questions you might want to ask yourselves or you might want to ask your teams before you embark on your data science and AI journey, or if you have already started, something to reflect on when you review your AI or any technology investments. The first one, we're always asked, what can AI do for us? What AI technology should we buy? And, instead of asking that, we should first ask, what specific business problems or what specific business goals are we solving or targeting? And how will we measure success? And I'm going to echo what Eugene said earlier. This is not just about efficiency gains or cost savings. Actual, measurable business outcomes. The second question, let's ask ourselves, is our data actually there, right? Is our data actually ready for this particular initiative? I cannot tell you how many times I've seen organizations assume that their data is AI ready when it's scattered across systems, inconsistent, and lots of missing critical elements. Remember, I work for the government, right? So we have a lot of AI ideas, and once we hit the ground running, wala palang data. Data preparation, I'll share this with you because I am an AI practitioner myself, takes up about 80% of an AI project timeline. And statistics show that about 60% of failed AI projects are linked to poor data quality or insufficient data. So before you embark on your AI, please make sure you have the data. Third question, please ask yourselves this, especially as leaders. What is our realistic budget for the full life cycle? This is not just about development, everyone. You have to deploy this. You have to operationalize this. You need ongoing maintenance, monitoring, even retraining of your AI models. And then there's integration cost. Most organizations, and I'm not so sure if this resonates with you, we budget for the build. We budget for the development, and we forget about the run or the actual operation. Fourth question, how will this AI system integrate with existing systems and scale in the organization? Now, we've seen beautiful proofs of concepts that work perfectly in isolation. We have a lot of those. I probably have done more than 100 already. But they cannot talk to your ERP system or your CRM or your HRIS. So they don't work with real-world big data volumes. Number 5, do you even have the right people and organizational capability? And here, we don't just mean data scientists or AI engineers or data architects, okay? We mean people who can translate between the business needs and the tech capabilities. Can our organization actually execute and sustain this journey? Finally, 6th question we ought to ask ourselves, and again, Eugene was right earlier about leadership, because this is the hardest one. Are we prepared to change how we make decisions? Sure, the AI systems, they can give good predictions. They can help us automate everything that we do. But fundamentally, it should also change the way we approach our problems. It should fundamentally change the way we make our decisions, our business models. So those are the 6 questions. They're not easy to answer, and they can be quite daunting. So before I close, I'm just going to share some tips. No? First, start small, seriously, but start smart. Look at 1 to 2, maybe maximum of 3 well-defined business questions. And this is what we call KBQs, or key business questions. These questions must first have very good data. It's a must. Second, there has to be stakeholder buy-in. If you don't have those, then there's a higher likelihood that you will actually fail. So once you have them, prove value before scaling. Then maybe concurrently, start building or investing your data infrastructure and governance. Again, this is the most painful process, is the most boring one, and it's really not sexy. However, it is essential, right? And invest and be honest about your organizational readiness. Sometimes, the best AI strategy is waiting until you're actually ready to execute. Like what Sir Al said earlier, diba? It's not anymore the big beating the small. It's the fast beating the slow. But I say it's actually the smart beating them all. Maraming salamat po, and I'm excited to take your questions in the Q&A. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Dr. Legara. We request that you remain on stage, and we invite again Mr. Paul Kent and our moderator, the co-chair of the MAP Technology Committee, Mr. Teddy Sumulong. For this session, we invite you to engage in the Q&A. Please submit your questions via Slido. You can access Slido by scanning the QR code displayed or visiting slido.com and entering the session code MAP-KPMG Summit 2.
I'll have our two resource speakers sit down. I have a 2-minute session here, so please bear with me. Do you all know how to use Slido and check the QR code? Okay, so now is the best time to get your phone and take a picture of the Slido. I do have a quick game that let's see how this works now. Get the Slido, okay, and take a picture so that you'll go directly to the app, and we'll have some questions here. So one of the questions that is how good is AI now? So I want to have this little game for you. Just 2 minutes, bear with me. Okay? You got that picture, Slido? You see the... Okay, so you can put any name. I don't really... But I just need you to put the name that I will recognize later so I can give you your prize. You can put John Wick, whatever, it's okay. Okay, so let's do a sample question. Let's see how this works. Makikita ko ba dito? Okay. Well, let's do a sample question first. Can you run the Slido very quickly, ah? I don't want to eat up the time of Erica and Paul. You see it? Game? Can you see the screen? Okay, so we're going to have a quiz. I want you to check if you can recognize a AI-generated image and a man-made image. Okay? Tingnan natin kung kaya natin. Can you run it now, please? You just have to choose. So letter A is, okay, so you can put all your names so I know that you're all logged in. Okay, put any name, okay. And then, so letter A is, picture A is AI, tama ba? Picture B is AI only, and then letter C is both AI, and then the last is, both are non-AI. Okay, so please put the Slido names there. Again, I don't need to know your real name, but I do need it for you to claim your prize later. So again, just to kind of keep things alive. Okay? Enough? Pwede na? I'll start with a sample question. Sige na, mag-sample question muna tayo. Okay, it's very easy. Ano dito ang totoo at ano hindi totoo? You put A as the AI-generated, B as the not AI-generated, or both AI or not AI. Okay, so A and B lang ba yung choice? Eli? A and B lang yung choice. Okay, A, B, C, D. C is both AI, D is, they're both not AI. Okay. Answer. Okay, so I guess you're all answering. And the right answer is letter A. Tama ba, Eli? Letter A? Okay, so that's how simple it is. Just a quick sample lang, no? Okay, so again, there is a prize here. Again, thank you so much for our sponsors. We do have a prize here, Bluetooth speakers. And then please do claim it we will put the name of the winner afterwards. Okay, let's go. So the first question is, there's only 4 questions, no? So the first question is, ano ba to? Sige na, Eli, para we can go. Okay. So the first picture is, which is AI and not AI. So A is AI, B is AI, C is they're both AI, and D is none of them are AI. You can actually use an AI tool if you want. And the answer is, not pa, it's still. You get the hang of it? You get the hang of it? It's okay? So which is AI? And the answer is, can you show the answers please? And the answer is B. So as you can see, it's very difficult to actually distinguish the pictures. Okay? Oh. So the leaderboard, si Mai is number 1. Okay, let's keep going, Eli, because I don't want to spend too much time. I just want them to have an idea. Okay. So on a text, it's also difficult to choose. Sino ba dito ang AI and the AI? Okay, just choose which ones you feel is true or not. A or B or C or D. And then show mo na lang yung answers. Again, I'm just making sure everybody's kind of nice here. I hope you like the Slido. Answer, please. Letter A ba yung tama? Okay, so letter A. So I think a lot picked it up, but 44% did not pick it up. Okay, let's keep going. Next. Which is AI? Ano ba to? Traffic. Yan, medyo. Ito, madaling pick upin to. If you notice the picture very clearly, you know which is non-AI and AI. Okay, please answer very quickly. Si Erica at si Paul, I wanna kinda pick their brains here and find out. Let's go. Okay, so A is AI. As you can see, the traffic was actually both sides of the lane, so that's it. Okay, go. Let's go. Okay, last question na to. Okay lang ang last question na kasi para tapos na tayo. So this is a little more difficult. Which is an AI-generated statement and what is AI not generated. And then you can show Eli the output of the results. Okay, so not even half got it right. So that's how hard it is. And the winners are, can you just go back straight to the rip? So the winners are May and Gilbert. So congratulations. Claim your prizes later at the back. Okay, Arnold. Okay, let's go. Okay, again, thank you so much, Erica. Thank you so much, Paul. You know, we're very grateful to have some very strong experts in the line of AI. So I want to just address the elephant in the room here. I've heard a lot of statements that my job is in jeopardy and a person which has AI skills will be the one that will be retained. Give us a bit of idea, what type of skills are there now as a basic for CEOs and maybe board of directors that you feel that they will have at least a basic knowledge of AI? Is it just adoption of ChatGPT? Can you give us some tips on where they can start as a very basic fundamental on how they can start just getting to use AI?
Okay, thanks for that question, Ted. My lovely friends from ICD is actually here. And this is not because you're here, guys, but I really think that the first step is education. So literacy is important. It doesn't have to be 1 week. It can be 1 day, 2 days. And then you're right, Teddy. The most accessible one is actually the large language models. Just use it, maybe not for work first, just to see how it responds. In the family, we're using it before we see a doctor. I know it's not recommended, but we're like, oh, we're gonna see this doctor, what are the questions that we can ask? Or sometimes to prepare for our itineraries. So just be comfortable chatting with it. Don't have so high expectations. And then later on, as leaders with really critical thinking skills, you will figure out how it can actually play in terms of your daily tasks moving forward. So I think that's the lowest barrier in terms of really getting into artificial intelligence.
Thank you, Erica. Paul, any comments, please?
Yeah, I'd echo that. Start using it, start playing with it. I'm sure a lot of people here have kids,
A lot of kids are playing with AI these days. My daughter does incredible stuff with it. So you can talk to your kids as parents, even senior people that are busy. Another thing we do as well is we see boards doing awareness programs. So there is formal, structured sharing sessions on AI to boards. That's a good way to sort of get yourself up to speed. And then finally, I think always be hungry a little bit. You know, everybody's busy, you don't have much time, completely understand that. But there's a lot of literature around. You don't need to be an expert in the technical details, but more at a higher level, what's happening, what are the trends, mix that with your own use, and then mix that with some type of feedback or training through your boards, I think would be a good way to go.
Okay, thank you. You know, when they speak AI, there's really a fair bit of concern or resistance because some of these terminologies are very difficult to understand. No? One of the things that you've heard quite regularly is, oh, you need to know large language models when you do these things. Otherwise, you'll fail. No? So give us some basic terminology. I hear a lot about large language models. It seems that seems to be a starting point that they need to know. Is that something too complex that we need to start with? Or is it the one that Erica was talking about earlier? Just really basic questions on data preparation. Do you know where your data is? Is your people ready? You know? So give us an idea. I've heard so much about LLMs. It seems to be the journey to have a very productive output on Gen AI. And let's take it from there. No? So just any initial thoughts, please.
So, show of hands, who among you have seen the Venn diagram? AI, ML, DL. Show of hands.
A few, I think.
All right, so a few. So AI is the bigger umbrella. It also covers the ones that you saw when you were kids before I was born, the Terminator. So it also covers that. But that's not what concerns us, no? Under AI, there is the predictive part on the machine learning model. So that is ML. It's a bigger umbrella than DL, which is deep learning. Both machine learning and deep learning is all about learning from data to make predictions. The learning part, the DL part, is just a different mathematical formula, wherein instead of using regression, you know regression? You know y is equal to mx plus b? Yeah, from math, elementary. Instead of using that, you are using a math that tries to copy the function or inspired by the function and the structure of the brain. Now, let's go to LLM. Under deep learning, okay, there is what we call LLM, or large language model. Large language models are what power ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude. So it's an AI system, while ChatGPT is the platform that you're actually using. LLM is the math. ChatGPT is what you actually see. So do you need to understand LLM? No, you don't need to understand LLM on a mathematical level. But what you need to know is that it is stochastic. It is statistical. So it can make mistakes because it's predicting based on the pattern of words. This is the professor in me talking, and I'm going to shut up now.
Getting to learn a lot from Professor Erica. Yes, Paul.
Yeah, I can just add to that. There's two parts to your question, actually. So LLMs are, as Erica said, they're the sort of underlying language model that looks at information and it retrieves insights based on that information. LLMs on their own have limitations if they're not calibrated or trained. So you have these other models, as an example, called small language models. So what you might try to do is you might try to, if you were moving down a journey, you would implement a large language model, but you would train it a little bit. And one of the ways you can do that is a small language model. So to give you an example of that, in your organization, you have your internal data. Your internal data will have all the abbreviations and the acronyms you use as part of your business. So you might call Asian, you might have terminology for departments, you have terminology for grades of staff, all these things. You can use a small language model to train understanding of those nuances of your data. Hence, you have a hybrid type approach. The second part of the question, I think, was around the data. It's exactly what Erica said in her presentation, but the data is critical. If you don't have good data, you'll have all sorts of stuff coming out from your models. And for most people, they don't understand how the models are actually working. So your ability to interrogate that and understand if that's correct becomes challenging. I'll give you an example. We've deployed an AI model into an organization for 5,000 employees. Those 5,000 employees are being fed 40,000 files, big, thick files. The AI, based on the prompts, is going inside there and pulling that information out and feeding it back to senior people. Actually, it's persona-based, so you've got seniors, you've got juniors. There's no way you can check if that is correct without actually reviewing the 40,000 records it was looking at. So the data becomes critical. The governance framework that you have to make sure that the data itself is correct, it's not doing stuff that it shouldn't be doing, that's the key. So it's a journey. Yeah, I hope that answers.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you, Erica. The other side of the fence is that there's so many good business cases that you can really use, as you mentioned, to identify a starting point for AI. You know. But with what we've seen as well is there's also other side of it is really in a negative way, it can also be leveraged. We've seen a lot of deep fakes that's been happening in terms of videos coming out, and maybe some data protection issues. Where does the CEO become really challenged that, you know, the AI doesn't know it's doing something bad, right? It only just tells you the output of what you're asking for. So the deepfakes is obviously a negative part of it. Give us some thoughts on really how does management or even CEOs strike a balance between the good side of it and even the negative side, because it is a challenge and it's something that they have to really take into consideration. You know, from fake videos, fake text, Facebook is all over the place in terms of these negative things, and it does create a very negative impression of a lot of things, especially in social media, even TikTok and Instagram. No? So just give us initial thoughts, because it is used in that manner. No? Cybersecurity, it's always used, and even fake information in general. No? So give us some, where can we have the ethical side of the conversation?
That's a big question, right? So I would say there's two sides to it. First, you have external information that models are accessing, and then you have internal information in your organization that models are accessing. For your internal activities, so a lot of organizations, I'm sure most of you are no different, you have a lot of information. You've been working for a long time, there's hundreds of people working in the business, they've been doing it for decades. All this information sits there. If you can access it, you can do some pretty amazing stuff. But then, of course, there's so much of it and you need to prioritize where you're going to do it. Otherwise, you'll be there forever and we'll all be dead. So you've got to pick the right spots to do it. But that internal stuff, you need to make sure that there's really good controls about what is in there. And that comes back to the governance frameworks we were both mentioning. They are critical. If the governance frameworks are robust and the information that it's accessing, whether it's Gen AI or traditional AI ML models, you can have a relatively high degree of confidence. And there's ways you can check as well. So there is models to check models' outputs, for example. On the external side, this is where it's much more difficult. So all the work we've been doing, most of it, is internal organizations, because the data, it's easier to control and be confident, relatively, that it's correct. But when you're going out into the internet and the web and you're pulling whatever it can find, you have no real clue whether or not. And again, that comes back to AI governance frameworks about how you're using your models, what's that check process, what's the data source, and all those things. The last thing I would say is I never believe anything I see on social media, never. Because these days there is so much falsehoods on everything that it's very scary. You see it all the time. I could give 100 examples, but anyway, I'll stop there.
I mean, just to add there, it all boils down to values, honestly. So have you seen the OpenAI report wherein they outline how AI, ChatGPT in particular, is being misused by countries? So they identified China, North Korea, and lo and behold, Philippines was there. They used it to generate fake comments for politics. But, right, even before ChatGPT, this has always been our problem. Right? Coming up with fake news, disinformation. So fundamentally, we have to reflect on our values. Because these tools, like what you said, Ted, can be used for good and bad. There's no way to control a person, how you're going to use it. But we all go back to really the basics of GMRC. Wala na yatang ganong subject, no? Good manners and right conduct. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul and Erica. A lot of CEOs and companies are trying to accelerate the adoption of AI. So a few years ago, when digital transformation was such a buzzword, everybody was appointing digital transformation officers because they felt that was the right direction in terms of accelerating digital transformation. Now we have this little AI, and some are saying, why don't we just appoint a vice president for AI in an organization? Or is it best that the AI is a joint responsibility by the leadership team, and it becomes more successful? No? So give us your thoughts, because the companies here are trying to reorganize, but what is a good model by which they can adopt in a very sure-footed way a technology such as AI, which they know it's a game changer. They know there's some consciousness that it has to be done, but what's the best way of doing it, considering that everybody's doing it differently? So is it really an accountability of individual that specialize it to push it hard in the organization, or more of a joint responsibility that everybody needs to do it as part of their so-called KPIs or objectives? No? So just, again, your thoughts on it, as your engagements with your respective clients and even your students, if you ask me.
Okay, so there's no one answer fits all for that question. So some of the big organisations, to give you an example, the global banks in Singapore, or that are headquartered in Singapore, often a lot of them have got a head of AI. So they do have it, and it's because AI is such a fundamentally important part of their business. They're analysing information and all these things. So because of that level of importance, they put that skill set, and they give it that institutional governance structure that the reporting has power. And that helps drive change and responsibility and so on. I've seen others where the organisations don't need that level, and their AI could be a part of the CDO function, for example, or a CTO function. The key thing, though, is, again, we're touching about AI governance. So a lot of this discussion, as soon as I said in my slides, you can spend a day talking about AI governance and data governance, but AI governance is about the leadership as a group trying to understand where are we going as a business, and how does technology and AI play in that future strategy. As a result of that, what do we need to put in place as part of a roadmap? That'll be technology, one of it will be people. And in that people, what sort of reporting structures do we need? So it's specific, I would say.
Any thoughts, Erica?
So just to add to what Paul said, what is critical is that you understand your why. Right? You have to go back to the business objective. You have to go back to your mission and your vision. Your vision should not be to become AI-driven. Your vision is to, increase market share, make your clients happy, and AI is just a tool. And once you have that very clear and how AI could play that role for you to achieve your objectives, then that's when you start crafting your strategy. The strategy will dictate what your organizational structure would be. Should you need a CIO, a CAIDO, a CAIDO, Chief AI and Data Officer? Or are you just going to upscale your CFO, for example? It really depends on your resources, your needs, and your mission and vision vis-a-vis how AI can help you achieve those.
Okay, thank you. And you know, we ran out of time, and these things we want to have maybe a half a day with these very good resource speakers. No, on behalf of the entire MEP, thank you so much for this afternoon, and I hope everyone had a good, enlightening session as far as AI is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you once again to Mr. Paul Kent, Dr. Erica Legara, and Mr. Teddy Sumulong for that great discussion. For the two winners of the Slido game earlier, Miss May and Sir Gilbert, please proceed to the KPMG booth to claim your prize. We will now have a 10-minute networking break. For coffee, there are coffee stations at the foyer of Bonifacio Hall. We will resume the program promptly at 3:30 p.m. Thank you.